Hello, everyone. The clip you're about to hear is from one of our exclusive Patreon episodes on a recent horror release, and just like all of our other episodes, it might include major spoilers for said horror release, so don't listen to it if you haven't already seen it. You've officially been warned. And if you'd like to hear the full episode, just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers and subscribe today. Without further ado, here is your exclusive Patreon clip. So we have TJ Miller here, and he is the comic relief of the film.
Can we please put quotation marks around that?
Okay, yeah, for sure. No, he's a bit. We don't like TJ Miller, and by we I mean everyone. No one likes TJ Miller because he is a douchebag, and I don't really remember the circumstances of what he did, but it was something around the Me Too thing and sexual assault and blah blah blah.
Yeah, so he's been accused of sexual assault, but he also made waves when he quit Silicon Valley because he more or less talked himself up like, I'm too big for the show and these fuckers can go F themselves.
Yes, yeah. And what the timing of this is important because everyone, this movie was filmed in early 2017. It was probably delayed a little bit because the end of 2017 is when Miller started having all this shit happen. But then, of course, it was the Disney Fox merger happened, so this got delayed again. So, I mean, luckily, this is not, like, for 2 years of delays, this isn't a Grudge type movie where I'm like, oh.
Yeah, this isn't a bad movie that has been shelved because they weren't sure what the fuck to do with it. You're right. Apparently, Alien Covenant came out shortly after.
Yes, because that was May 2017.
Filming. Yeah, so it's possible that they did have thoughts about whether or not they could do anything with this in the wake of Alien Covenant's failure. But really, this is just, it sat on the shelf because Disney bought 20th Century Fox and then immediately put all of the 20th Century Fox stuff on hold so that they could release their own films. Because prior to that point, they were competitors. So they already had both schedules filled out. And then Disney was like, well, fuck you, 20th Century Fox. Sure, we bought you, but we're going to prioritize our own films.
Right. So anyway, so that's why TJ Miller is still in this movie, because today he would not have been cast in this. But...
well, maybe.
Well, yeah.
Sadly.
Maybe. But, yes, no, his character is a major point of contention with people because, yeah, people do not find him funny. I actually did find him funny in this movie, but he is doing his standard TJ Miller shtick that you see him do in everything he does. I mean, it's kind of like the Ryan Reynolds. That's the movie this gets compared to now, too, is Life, which I also didn't really enjoy that much. But yeah, he's like the Ryan Reynolds of this movie.
Yeah, I would argue that the difference is that Ryan Reynolds is not presented as maybe mentally compromised for 50% of life. Like, I couldn't get a read on who Paul is meant to be as a character because he lugs around a teddy bunny.
Yeah.
As a security blanket, and he sometimes acts like he's a 12-year-old boy, but then he's also cracking wise, like he's everybody's, kind of juvenile younger brother.
With the bunny, I assumed it was for a child that he had back on shore, and he was waiting to give it back to her or him.
Was that ever clarified?
No, I just assumed that's what it was.
See, this is not good storytelling, then.
No. I mean, they don't tell you a lot about all these characters. I mean, of course, had he lived till the end of the movie, maybe we would get a confession out of him, like, in the last act that we get from Kristen Stewart. But I get it, like, in this really intense situation, it's like, why is this guy being the fucking jokester? But I just feel like, and I'm basing this on no knowledge or factual evidence whatsoever, but I just feel like, you're a minor, you're down there, you're doing stuff, it's mundane work, it's dangerous work, so you have to get through the day by just being jolly for some people. And so that was just his coping mechanism for this shitty ass situation.
Yeah.
I mean, again, humor subjective. If you genuinely didn't find him funny, that's totally fine. I do feel like some people are letting their opinion of Miller as a person paint their image of this character, which is not entirely fair in my eyes. But again, that's just me saying I thought he was funny. I still think he's a garbage human being, but like his character didn't bother me in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'll confess that I I'm not exactly one of those people, but I was not excited to see him. I had actually completely forgotten that he was in this until I was about to go in and you were like, oh, TJ Miller. And that immediately just, fuck, right. I'm going to have to deal with him throughout this movie. I think the bigger issue for me, I've talked about this a couple times, I don't love a lot of this kind of humor, which I not unaffectionately call US humor.
No, it's not your British dry humor that you like.
Yeah, it's a little lowbrow. I think the bigger issue for me was just, okay, so you mentioned Leviathan. If people haven't seen Leviathan, it's really good. We talked about it a bit on our aquatic horror minisode, so if you want to go back, you can check that out. But Leviathan is very similar. Alien is very similar, where it's blue-collar workers. They're living this job day in, day out. They're at the mercy of a soulless corporation that really only is interested in making money off of them. They're not without humor, but at the same time, what they're doing is that they're balancing like sarcasm and there's kind of like a jokey banter to it, which feels like it lives within this world. My issue with TJ Miller in this film is that he feels like the only one who's doing that. So
I get that.
Everybody else is like, holy shit, we're about to die, everything is going wrong, and you've just got this asshole cracking jokes. And it just feels to me, it's totally off balance. It's throwing the atmosphere of the film off for me.
Get in, losers. This is the Lady Killers, a Feminine Rage podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Sammy.
I'm Rocco.
And I'm May. Our podcast is a tribute to the female-identifying killers in horror and more.
Each episode will feature us, your Supreme Court of female murderers, discussing our favorite lady killers, from your Julias and Jennifers to your Carries and Christines.
We'll tell her story, decide if it's good for her horror, and answer the most important question of all: would we die for her?
Join us on Thursdays as we pull on our sweaters, snatch our ice picks, sharpen our scissors, and honor the lady killers who live on the silver screen.
No boys were harmed in the making of this podcast.
Yet.
Hello, I'm Shelby Scott, the host of Scare You to Sleep, a podcast where I tell you spooky bedtime stories full of creepy sound effects and music that is soothing yet unsettling to help immerse you into a world of horror. This is a show for those of us who have realized horror can be a strange but relaxing escape from reality. Speaking of escapes, sometimes I lead you through guided nightmares, like a guided meditation, but instead of flowery meadows, I take you on a journey through your own personal nightmare. So come get lost in the terror with me. Listen to Scare You to Sleep wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm. Sweet screams.